I'm Craig Kenneth, a relationship coach and a psychotherapist. Every relationship is different and every breakup is different. Work with me and you'll get professional help on your situation. And if you're in no contact, focused on personal growth, my workbook series, The Knowledge, will help you make changes like you've never made before. Available now at AskCraig.net. Hi there, I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And in this video, we're going to be talking to you about why they lost you.
It's true.
It is true.
Before we get into it, I did want to say that Craig and I are available for coaching sessions. So if you would like to talk about your situation one-on-one with one of us, you can do so by booking on the website.
You know, you might be feeling like, well, we lost each other. And that's true too. But, you know, many of you that are so hurt and broken up over your breakup, it just goes to show you how much you really cared about somebody and how much they meant to you. And yeah, I know some of you guys made mistakes or were neglectful, but if you're hurting that much over a breakup, it must show something, right? Mm-hmm. Shows you care.
Right. And many of you have this huge sense of rejection from your ex, and this can be something that's really, really difficult to get past. Mm-hmm. And while you may have that perspective of we lost each other, you might be feeling a greater sense of loss, especially in the beginning, if you were the person who was dumped naturally.
Yep.
You know, you become so close and intimate with somebody, they know almost everything about you. Sometimes you feel like your partner knows you better than yourself. So when they decide to end a relationship, it's devastating, it's crushing.
Yeah.
Somebody who knew me so close still decided to end the relationship. You know, what does that mean about me? What does that mean about my worth? What does that mean about my worth in relationships to them?
Yeah, it's a horrible feeling.
So it can be a lot and overwhelming. And so we decided to talk about this video to also highlight some of your strengths, to shift your perspective from you've lost someone to also they've lost someone important too. So it does go both ways. We want to highlight your strengths.
That's right. And if you made mistakes in the relationship, and nobody's perfect, you're probably blaming yourself a lot and beating yourself up. And if your ex was really angry and you were pushing them, they probably were really laying that blame on you. So when you start to pressure the ex at the end of the breakup, the more you do it, the more likely they're going to say, well, you did this and you did that and then you did this. And even the small, minute things are going to start lashing out at you because they know you're going to kind of take it. But, you know, just because you did things that maybe weren't ideal in the relationship or you made some mistakes here or there, it doesn't mean that it's your self-worth. It doesn't take away from your self-worth or who you are as a human being.
And this is a difficult thing to believe, especially when you see your ex in separation elation. You see them happy, you see them feeling free, you might see them dating other people, and there can be that comparison that creeps in. And so it can be hard to not equate this with your value. If I was so important, then they wouldn't be so happy leaving me. And that can be a thought that comes across your mind.
Yeah. How are they so happy if I'm so great?
Right. But we can't equate your ex's separation elation with your worth. Those things are very separate. And this is why we like to educate you guys about what separation elation is, the common things that we see after a breakup, so that you don't feel so alone in your situation. Your ego and your self-esteem take a huge hit after a breakup. Some of you might be looking at your relationship or your partner specifically for approval in your life. So when that person is no longer there, you don't know where to get your approval from, right? And so there's a shift that happens for looking to your ex for that approval that may have been there for years, and that can be a very difficult habit to break out of. So this is why it's important to think back and think about how they also lost you.
Yeah, you really have to take a look at yourself and the strengths that you have, the positive qualities that you have, the things that you did right. You know, it's always helpful to reflect on the things you did wrong and maybe if there's patterns you're making in all your romantic relationships so you can repair those things. But you do have good qualities too. And must be good qualities because they chose to date you to begin with. So there were things that they saw in you that they really liked about you. But at the time of the breakup, you can completely forget about all those things and think that they're not there, or that, you're not worth it, or you're just a terrible person, right? That they leave you. They feel like a terrible person.
Yeah, so you have to think about some of those times where you did show up as a good partner. Many of you ask, well, what do I do now after a breakup? How do I re-attract an ex? Especially when you start talking with your ex again, you see that they're more open. Many of you are like, well, what do I do?
Yeah.
One of the things that I tell people is go back and look at the strong moments in your relationships. What elements were there? Were you creating a safe emotional environment? Were you able to manage your anxiety to keep things light and fun? What kept you connected? And think about those qualities, because most of the time when we're working on trying to build our relationship skills, we're not starting from an absolute zero. We always talk about how our body and our minds remembers the trauma from our childhood.
Yeah.
Our bodies and our minds also remember the ways that people have invested in us, the way that people have loved us. And there's probably some positive ways that we know how to show love.
Yeah.
And so we also want to focus on those things too. What are your strengths? Let's hone in on the relationship skills that you already have.
That's
what
right.
do you know that you can do well? How can we put a spotlight on that?
Yeah. And you can always focus on how to improve those things and do those things better. Obviously, if you're hurting over a breakup, it shows that you care about somebody. And how is that a bad thing? To show up in somebody's life and to care about them. And so you have to understand that they are losing somebody that cares about them. Okay? Even if you feel like you didn't bring enough to the table to keep them around or stay, just know that there's things that are going on with them. They weren't perfect either. They made mistakes too. And there were probably points in the relationship that you weren't happy with them. And we always forget that at the time of the breakup because we're so anxious.
Right.
But I'm sure that you showed up in a positive way, and many of you guys have heard your ex say that you treated them better than anyone ever has.
Right.
I hear that all the time.
Right. And it's really that effort that shows.
Yeah.
What they lost is somebody who is willing to put in the effort. And we're seeing it now. If you're watching this video,
Yeah.
if you're watching our channel, you are putting in that effort. And that means a lot. One thing that I always think about in these kind of situations is that quote that talks about 10 things that you don't need talent for. And it's like a list of so many different things: discipline, showing up, being timely, all of these different things behaviorally that you can do that you don't necessarily need some kind of magical talent for. In the same way, you don't need to have some perfectly secure attachment style to make all your relationships work and to have all your exes come crying back, right?
Yeah.
There's certain behaviors that you can do that can lead you to a more secure place. There's certain behaviors that you can, and skills that you can learn to get you there. So in that same way, think about that.
Gotcha.
What are some things that you don't necessarily need a perfectly secure attachment style for, right? Being reliable to your partner, being able to be respectful to them, being able to apologize, being able to take accountability, right? These are in a relationship. Don't, I want to be clear. If you're in a situation, in a breakup, and we're not saying do all these things.
Yeah,
now,
no, don't
right?
do those
You don't want to
things.
go back and say, well, I was a great partner in this video. We talked about all these reasons why you lost me. No.
Yeah.
This is more a video.
I have a list.
This is more video just about your own perspective, your own self-image. So something to reflect on as you process your breakup.
Yeah. Just remember that I know you feel like you lost them, but they also lost you. Okay? All right. So hopefully this one has helped you. And of course, if you want to get our help personally, you can do that on my website, askcraig.net. I do email coaching and I do Skype. Victoria is also available for Skype coaching.
I'm here whenever you'd like to chat.
Just click on her name on the top of the website to schedule with her. But that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth,
And I'm Coach Victoria.
and we will talk with you soon.